Welcome! Episode 1, we left off with Oloture finding out that she's been abandoned by her boss. Like, you've ruined everything for everyone, pretty much. She comes back, her friend Peju's waiting for her. There's a bunch of boys and one senior man there. That's Ben. And we have the other guy. I never got to find out the actor's name, but he's Andrew. Anyway, they're playing football. And then when they're done playing, the young women go over to them and they're like, hi, we like your muscles. And also, we need help, because it's totally normal to walk up to a bunch of strangers and say, we need your help. When they tell them we're trying to get to Europe, this is completely random. I can't imagine a scenario where I walk up to a bunch of strangers and say, I'm trying to get to Europe. And it also happens so coincidentally. There's so many wonderful coincidences in this series. It happens that these guys are also trying to get to Europe. Who would have thought? Just a country full of people trying to get to Europe. They finally agreed to help them, because who wouldn't help two pretty damsels in distress? So they come to their guy who's the connect and negotiate with them and get these girls on that trip to the next stop to Europe. They say is a place called Agadez. Okay, so this guy signs them up for the trip. Next we see Alero and pimp guy Chokes. It's a whole nothing. Whenever they meet, it's just nothing. They just mouth off at each other. And Oloture, of course, is very conscientiously writing in her journal. Don't forget, she's a journalist. She's writing this story that she expects is going to make her the next Christine Amanpour. Actually, she's going to be bigger than Christine Amanpour. So she's working very assiduously at this task. Then it's time to take off to this Agadez place, which is the next stop on the path to Europe. Remember Beauty? Oh, what did we see of Beauty in the last episode? Yes, what did we see of Beauty in the last episode? If you haven't seen my reaction video of episode 1, please check that out. I'll either link it in the description below or pin it up here or somewhere. So here's Beauty wandering around. At this point, I don't know exactly where she is, but this series does love trains. That I can tell you for a fact. Very shortly, we find out where she's going, but we'll get there. So these people are getting to know each other. Peju has eyes for Ben. Look at those sleepy eyes. Look at her, full of lust. Meanwhile, she's going to Europe to be moving on. Oh yeah, this is where Beauty is coming to. Beauty is coming back to this brothel because, can you tell me why? Can somebody explain this? Because when she found out that her mom was dead, the house was burned down. This is a girl that's never been to Edo State before. And by the way, we don't know where in Edo, because anytime they ask her where she's coming from, she says, I'm coming from Edo State. Edo is quite a big place, but what do I know? So she grew up there, apparently, because when we found her, she was living right there. And this is Nigeria. We have community, okay? We don't live in silos like white people. No, we have community. We had all those people that came and held her when she was crying that her mom died. But all of a sudden, I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. Feel free to kill me now if I keep singing. So anyway, all of a sudden, Beauty finds out that she's all alone in the world. She doesn't have anyone. She's an orphan. You know, her sister's dead. Her mom is dead. The entire community is dead. So she comes to Lagos. And yes, straight to the brothel, because she's a V-word. She's never done the thing before. But the only thing that she can think of to do in this entire whole wide world is Jesus. Thou shalt not say the name of the Lord in vain. But I have a feeling that it's going to be very difficult to not blaspheme. But let's carry on. So she comes here and meets whatever her name is, Omawumi Photocopy, comes and meets her and says, hey, can I join your girls in doing whatever it is you guys do? And this one is like, who the fuck are you? And whatever her name is, this bad belly person, Linda, Wafaiwara's character, oh, I love her. She's so consistent. She shows up and she's full of bad vibes. And she's like, bitch, get out. You're carrying bad luck. All of you that went to that Europe, the way she always says they cut off her sister's head is always so hilarious to me. I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be funny, but it's hilarious. Anyway, she's like, no, you have bad vibes. Be gone, demon. Look at the look on this woman's face. If somebody looks like they trekked all the way from Edo State to come and work with you, with your high-class sex workers, would you admit them looking like they trekked all the way from Edo State? What the hell? She should have tried to clean up at least. And here's another person who is also down on her luck, and absolutely, after years of amassing wealth and you would assume social standing and friends and acquaintances and all the things, when she has to go into hiding, she suddenly has no resources. So she comes to look for a long lost relative, I assume her sister, and the sister is like, bitch, when you made a lot of money, you abandoned everybody. Family, I mean, there are some families that you should abandon, but whatever, that's not the point. You abandoned everybody and went after money. So so let your money protect you now. Demon, be gone. Whatever she's saying, it doesn't matter. The sister says, get out. This is another very consistent person. He's always hovering like a hovercraft. He's right at the right place at the right time, or wrong place at the wrong time, depending on your point of view. And he sees Beauty and says, ooh, aren't you, what is that bitch whose head was cut off? Her sister. What was her name again? Forgettable person. Anyway, aren't you that person whose head was cut off? And she's like, no, can't you see my head is intact? She's like, oh, you guys look so alike. You might as well be twins. They don't look alike. So this guy is like, hey, I'm such a nice guy and I look after very nice girls. So I'm going to help you. Are you in trouble? What's going on? It's like, I need help. I need a job. The next time somebody tells you I need a job, the follow-up question has to be, are you a virgin? Which is exactly what this guy asks her. I think we all know the answer to that. These people, remember, they were traveling on their way to Agadez. And so, of course, corruption continues. Every stop along this road is corruption. The sand on the ground is corrupt. So the bus is stopped by a bunch of corrupt army officials who are like, $5, $5, $5. And anyone who doesn't have $5, who happens to be this one woman, because you're heading all the way to Europe, but you just happen to not have $5 on you. So they take her. And I don't know what they're going to do to her. Your guess is as good as mine. Here is, what is her name again? The pimp. He's brought her to his protege. I don't know what I'm going to call her right now, whatever she is. He's brought her here and tells her, hey, clean up this other girl. Look at her. She looks nasty. She looks like she traveled by foot all the way from Edo State, okay? And this one is staring at him like, what the fuck? But okay, yeah, thanks. You know the way they cleaned up those people in the Hunger Games when they bring them to the capital? They're like, you're filthy. That's how Beauty needs to be cleaned up. So this other girl, she tells Beauty, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Takes her in hand and whatnot. These people arrive Agadez, and this is where they're handed over to Efaiwara's character, who is called Femi, and he's a right bastard. I'll tell you that right away. And Femi tells them, I'm your guide, I'll take care of you. And they're like, we're at your mercy. Beauty here, unfortunately, not being really well taken care of, because she's being worn this quite hideous wig. I think this is the start of the rest of her problems for the rest of her life, is this wig. It looks cursed. She's really turned up real good. And while this is going on, she gives us all the stupid backstory about what happened in the movie. We know. I did the recap. I told you guys. She's here getting it wrong. She's recounting and saying that everything that happened to her, all the misfortune, because she escaped and broke the terms of her contract, that fake contract they signed, remember it? That's why all these bad things have happened. Her house got burned. Her mom got killed. And she says it's because of the charm, which I assume she means is the oath. She's been totally cleaned up. I mean, I thought the wig was bad, but it's looking quite good. Put some curls in there, and her abs are, oh, these two girls. Oh, this guy has cornered the market. I don't know why he doesn't understand it. Listen, gold in the hands of a poor person is like dust, because look at all those nasty looking girls at that brothel, and then look at this. Look at these two girls. These are Creamy Yimi. These are, what does it? Forza Speciale. These two girls trump all those other girls put together. But this bastard doesn't know it. He's going to mess around with them and treat them like they're not prime. You know what? For what it's worth, he appreciates her very much. It's like, you'll make me a lot of money, because to this guy, it doesn't matter whether you look like Bianca Ojukwu. All he can see is your meat, and you're going to make me money. I would have wanted to tap that for myself before I sent it out on the streets, but what do I know? Anyway, here's Auntie again. Comes to call her mom, and she decides not to say anything. And then this guy is giving us a monologue about the desert, which nobody cares about. It eats people alive. Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. When he's done talking to them as a bunch, the four of them, for whatever reason, the other three stroll away so that they can have their tete-a-tete as per script notes. And so she's talking to him, and she just manages to tell him how her life has fallen apart. He just happens to know a journalist. He's going to introduce them, and this journalist can help her. And I don't know what's happening here, but some random chick interrupts this meeting by coming to drag her off to some random birthday party with some fucking random people. I don't know who the fuck all these people are, but they're having a good time. People just take a bunch of selfies for whatever reason, but later we find out why. Olotore and her friend Peju have to work for a living like most decent people do, but she looks very put out by the fact of having to work. She meets up with this guy, come to see him to take her to this journalist woman friend of his. He leaves her here in this bedroom that looks very grimy. He doesn't question it at all. Her instincts are completely off. Here's Oloture's mom. This woman has come here to the police station. She says it's been 3 weeks. So the mom is here asking the police for help, but of course the police is not your friend. Femi, you know, talking to the journalist woman The cops ask Oloture's mom if she has a picture of her daughter, whereupon Oloture's mom provides her a picture that looks straight out of Sharanoja's wedding this last weekend. And here's Oloture suddenly realizing that, wait, time has passed and this guy, where's Femi? So she starts to panic and Femi, and realizes when this door was locked and the lock clicked, we all heard it, only Oloture is in her zone because, writer, journalist. So now all of a sudden she realizes that the door has been locked this entire time. Beauty, meanwhile, is brought to this a strip club, and guys, I missed the strip club. He saved me. I'm so glad I've been saved. Moving on. These girls look hot. Anyway, let's carry on. Beauty is introduced to some rando. Here's what is kind of frustrating about this virginity. So much has been made of it since from the first. Alero said, come with the virginity intact. Don't spend it like kuli. And everyone has been about this virginity. And then now, just very without ceremony, this random guy, look at his face. Just look at him. This is not the face that takes your virginity, okay? Like, why? We should have seen the negotiation. We should have seen how it's sold to this guy. Much ado about nothing. It came to nothing, okay? It came to nothing. She just... Sorry, do I feel bad for her? No, I don't, because she's stupid like every other person operating in this world. Here's Oloture now being introduced to her journalist friend, who turns out to not be quite the journalist. Oloture's like, I don't even know what is going on. I'm writing a story about human trafficking. I'm a journalist. And this woman is like, no, bitch, you're not. Are you done with your little story? Listen, you work for me now. This is my house and you owe me $4,000. So Oloture's like, you've not even given me water to drink since I got here. God punish you. As how? So he tries to take off 4,000. And the woman is like, we are going to humble you right away. And this humbling begins. So she has fallen into yet another trap. How many times now? Oloture, how many times will I call you? Here is Beauty crying after, I don't know how many. I'm guessing that when you go out on a night, you don't only sleep with one man. So on the night when her gateway to paradise is breached, she probably does it several times over. Jesus, I'm sorry. I can't with this. But anyway, this guy gives her, I tried to count that money. It looks like 500, 1,000. I don't think there's more than 500. So like 1,500. Guys, 1,500 is what? Like two packs of spaghetti in Niger, right? So, but what I don't know is why she's crying. She left Edo, trekked from Edo to come here to come and do this work. So I need her to do it with cheerfulness. Moving on. Here are our friends looking for their friend. They're like, where's Oloture? Remember those selfies? Because now they're flashing the selfies in people's faces, asking them, do you know her? Do you know her? And here's Oloture being introduced to her first customer. And she's like, I'd rather die before that happens. And this guy is like, let me out of here. That's a wild animal. So Madame comes and they're like, go sort that lunatic out. Here are our guys out on the streets looking for her. And then they find Femi is like, I don't know where your friend is. Don't ask me. In fact, actually, he tells them that she says she's going back home. Which, that bitch is so random. I totally could believe it. Somehow, in the midst of this altercation with Andrew trying to fight Femi, he mentions jollof rice. He says, look, is it Nigerian jollof? Look, these people have been speaking a bunch of homegrown, hybrid, crazy, patchwork Ghanaian accent, okay? I guess once you say chale and say, I make hungry, rather than I'm hungry, you've nailed it. So I'm having to deal with a lot of this, but I guess they had to bring in the Niger-Ghana jollof thing to pull it all together. Then they discuss whether or not it's possible that Oloture has gone back home. The truth is, these people don't really know each other, so they don't really know what she can or can't have done. Me, do I know? I really don't know what she can or can't have done. Anyway, she gets drugged. The episode ends on a very sober note, very foreboding of what is to come in the third episode. Now, what do I think of this episode so far as a second episode? Still pretty much my notes as with episode 1, which is I see what is happening. I see that I'm supposed to have feelings about these, but I see that the characters are so stupid and the acting is just not great and the writing is still not getting to the emotional core and truth of these characters vis-a-vis their situation, and the story itself is not pushing the characters to a place where am able to feel sympathy for them and their circumstances. And the writing is very surface and shallow, the things that should have had an emotional impact on them. For instance, in episode 1, Oloture received the news that Emeka died, and honestly, that's the last we all heard of it. I never saw her grief for 1 second. She didn't acknowledge that. Just all the grief in this series is on her face. She just walks around looking morose. I don't give a fuck. And Beauty is also walking around starting to look very morose in spite of using her 2 legs to walk from Edo to Lagos. This bitch trekked from Edo to Lagos to come and prostitute. I'm sorry. Do you see the problem? This is a story about trafficking. It should be an incredibly heavy, incredibly sad, and all I've done is laugh. The entire time I've been watching this shit, I've been laughing. But you know what? What's the high point? We've not seen too much of the pimps, and all their activities, all the distractions, which you would think that would give us space to explore this story more, but that's not happening either. Let's summarize Oloture. What has happened? She's gotten herself from point B to point C, I guess. She's made a bunch of friends. She's at Agadez now, and she's found herself in another situation again. But there's been no emotional progression for her. She's basically a straight line, So, we have one more episode to go. So let's see what episode 3 brings us. Have you liked this video? Don't forget to like, comment, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Thank you. We're moving straight into episode 3. All right, episode 3 starts with Oloture out here feeling sorry for herself, which is good for her because she can't get me to feel sorry for her. The guy who injected her comes back and is ready to beat her up and inject her again. And she tells him, I'm sorry, I'm going to behave myself. I'll be a good girl now. And unaccountably, because plot armor, guy says, okay, I trust you to be a good girl. Now, let me tell you what the biggest issue of this series is. And I've watched it to the end at this point, so I can't make some of these kinds of declarations because I know what's coming right up to the end. I'm going to tell you here that if you're going to take on a human sex, whatever trafficking story, you have to be ready to go the distance with the story and with the characters. You have to be ready to not only milk the emotions out of every instance, but you have to be ready to push the character and the story to the very edge. You have to be ready. The reason I'm saying this is a perfect opportunity to show you how afraid this series is of pushing the envelope. Now, in a trafficking situation like this, which if you know anything about this world and how it operates, when people are medicated like this, it's usually for one of 3 reasons. Number 1, you're being tranquilized, which is what was done to her. But it's being done to a purpose. You're not in an asylum where they're just trying to medicate you to keep you calm. You're being medicated so that you can be rewarded over and over. So it's not a one-off. They keep medicating you, drugging you, and sending in different men, and you're in a blur so that by the time you eventually come out of it, you're unrecognizable to yourself. You're in tatters. So there's really no point fighting anymore. That's the first instance. The second instance, which is usually the more powerful and more compelling, is where you're drugged with an addictive substance. And I don't need to explain that. Now you go take your own hand. They beg them for your drugs. They get you addicted. And you know that there are things that once they give you 1 or 2, you're hooked. And once you're hooked, that's how they control you, right? You yourself will beg to service these clients so that you get your fix. And then the third instance where you're medicated like this, where that applies, is where they use an aphrodisiac, in which case you go be like he goat. You'll be on heat. You by yourself will be the one begging to Kerewa. But of course, this series is not going to do anything to our precious Oloture that we've packed up with plot armor. So it can't go the distance. It just won't. Everything is just surface. So that's why if you're wondering why you can't connect with this story, is because there's no depth. For telling us this story is promising us a human or sex trafficking story, but the story is giving us is a travel log. At this point, when I come out of this experience, what I'll have the most knowledge about is the path to Europe. But as far as the workings and how vulnerable, I can imagine someone who has actually experienced something like this watching this be like, you guys have not started. You have no idea how incredible. Like, just she gets saved all the time in the nick of time. And you know what? Let's continue. Rant over. This good guy tells her, be sure to behave yourself. And she says, I will. Because, people just become docile out of nowhere. A journalist is just suddenly going to agree to have sex with a random guy. So anyway, of course, she asks the guy to share his drink, and she breaks the bottle over his head, steals his phone, calls her friends, and Oloture just happens to have memorized this guy's phone number. Also steals his money. Her friends, they come and rescue her. Let's not waste time. She refuses to go back to that house because she tells them it was Femi who got her in trouble. From there, they get on the bus that's taking them to their next place. They use that money that she stole to negotiate their passage. And then they are now doing this desert crossing that's very perilous. And meanwhile, Madam Pimp here, Omoli, hello, hi, I've not seen you in a while. I saw you in just one scene last episode, thank God, but here you are again. Comes to see my boo. His name is Ade, and she comes and tells him, you have a problem and I can help you. I think both of them, their problem together is Tony. Meanwhile, this clown Chooks, he also comes to see Tony here and is also saying, hey, help me again. And Tony is like, look, I have a problem. That problem is Ade. So Ade is Tony's problem, and Tony is Ade and Alero's problem. And if you deliver a message to Ade, then you'll be back in good graces with me. The one thing I'm going to give this story credit for what it's worth is that it's doing very good work mirroring. It's mirroring Beauty with Oloture and mirroring this situation as well. So there's been a lot of that I've observed in the process of watching this. This other guy agrees he'll take care of the problem. Well, he says it here, Tony is the problem and I am the solution. Okay. Did that ever actually come to anything? Now that I think of it, wow, let's carry on. We'll find out, I guess. Meanwhile, here is Pimp Guy Chooks, not very pleased with his girls. He has these beautiful girls and he doesn't know how to treat them right. God damn it. Anyway, he's not happy with them. The streets are bad that night. He slaps them around, takes whatever stupid money they bring, and he's like, do better! These guys who are on the trip, they've stopped somewhere for the night, and one of the guys hears footsteps and gets them all to safety just in time. Then the men who are part of the company, I guess the guides or whatever, they pick up some of the women and have their wicked way with them. Who are these now? Okay, these two girls. I want these girls to take care of each other so bad. And by take care of each other, I don't know if you know what I mean. Two hot girls together. Moving on. Yeah, dear. I can never be serious in this life. All right. This one's Rise and Shine. Time to continue the journey on this dusty desert. Look, this movie, so much desert. Dune ain't got nothing on this movie. Out of nowhere, these trucks show up with armed men who come to rob these people. I'm not sure what they expect people like this to have on them, but they take whatever money, phones, whatever these people have on them. They do give some people a very good beating, and of course, nobody is going to touch our three star characters. I mean, look at them. Between the three of them, do you know the amount of combined star power between those three people? Beverly Osu, Sharon Oja, and Stanze. They are not going to kill them, okay? But this other clown is disposable, so off you go. Off with your head. They kick him around real good, break a few bones and ribs and shit, and he can't stand pain at all. Now they have to make their way in the desert on foot because all kinds of things have to happen to Oloture except the thing that is actually supposed to happen to her in line with this story, which is something sex trafficking related. We're going to protect her from that, but throw every other thing at her. Here's my boyfriend again. This part is really going to annoy me. This son of a bitch, that little simp over there, that little incel, that bitch who wears that stupid chain. Yeah, sorry, I'm not doing very good with my insults today, but I need a drink. I need a fucking drink. Anyway, he comes up like a coward behind my boo, and I cannot forgive them. How can this bitch, this little, look at his small puny arm, how can this wimp be the one to take out my boo? Just look at his beautiful face. Look at that. Look at those cheekbones, even in death. Oh my God. Anyway, his mates take scalp as trophy. This one took neck chain, but it's okay. That's how stupid people behave. So he presents it to Tony, who tells him, you're back in my good graces. If we go to these two beautiful girls again, and they're gossiping their pimp. Don't we all gossip our bosses? Don't lie. What's happening here now? Oh, he comes and he's bragging. He's feeling himself. He announces his new position. Who wants to go to Europe? And Jewel, such a sex worker name. Her boobs are perfect. Yeah. So Jewel is like, me. And he's like, fuck you, you're not going anywhere. Which is crazy because he would get like, this bitch is so beautiful. He would get like really, guys, look, I hope my swearing is not offending you, and for the most part I keep it PG because I know I'm doing like a review, but I can't be bothered right now. So this is how I am in real life. Okay, my real life, this is P. So sorry. I'm so sorry. Back to these people. Oh, these girls are beautiful. Okay. Moving on. Jewel is like, me, I want to go to Europe. And he's like, nope, I've spent too much money on you. I can't just let you go like that, which makes no sense. Actually, it does make sense. But what does not make sense is when Beauty, she puts her hand up as well and says she wants to go to Europe and says for her sister. It's like, my sister was working on the cure for cancer and this was her life's work and I'm going to finish it to honor her. This bitch... She's going to go to Europe in honor of her sister. Can you kill me now, please? Everybody is stupid. Everybody is so fucking stupid. Anyway, she's going to Europe and unaccountably, the guy says yes. But you know what? Nothing has to make sense. Nobody's motives have to be clear. We're gonna just do whatever the script says we should do, okay? Just to get the story moving. So that's that. I don't know if we see them again. I don't care. Yeah, this one wants to go. He is shocked. Like, are you sure? 2 minutes ago, you were a virgin. And now, your only option in life is to go to Europe and become a full-time Asharamota for her sister. Isn't it funny, interesting, ironic, whatever, that they're doing all this, their Europe business and transaction, right? With the Nigerian Immigration Service as their background. That's funny. We see Alera. She gets a call from that fake Italiano guy and he's like, I have problem. I need whatever it is. And she's mimicking him, of course. And oh God, it's terrible. Both of them are terrible. I'm the best person in business. I help grow your business. Whatever the fuck they're saying. She said, I know everything, everywhere, everybody. Something like that. It's terrible. I think he wants her to come back to organizing people to go to Europe, put her back in business now that she's fallen out with Tony. Here are desert people again, strolling through the desert, trying to carry Andrew. They give him water, and I don't know, these people did not learn anything from Dune. If someone is dying, please let them die, and you take their body water, okay? Don't give a dying person water. Fuck you. All right, moving on. Suddenly, there's a dust storm because, like I said, everything is going to happen to Oloture except the real thing. So this storm blows and somehow, what did I tell you? Nothing is going to happen to those three people with that combined star power. Oh, disposable Andrew gets buried in sand and somehow the rest of them are able to find themselves except for him. When they find him, he's pretty much half buried in sand and already half dead. And you know what? Another rando bites the dust. These people are crying and I'm laughing my head off. Look at Stanze. He tried so hard and finally succeeded in squeezing a solitary tear out of his eye. It was so hilarious. Like, dude, don't bother. It's terrible. You're not sad. Oloture is not sad. Pedro is not sad. I'm not sad. Nobody is sad that's watching this. Look at their sandy mouths. What is this? I hear something. Sure, you hear something. Of course, Duzes Machina, a truck is coming to ferry you off to safety. So yeah, they get on this random truck and I don't know how, but when they end up in Libya, are these countries like 2 miles large each? Because the way these people are moving from country to country is really wild. Anyway, these are really small countries. Niger, you go travel tire. They're here now in Libya and they get handed over to some guy. It just looks like all these countries along the West African shoreline or whatever are just, everybody there is somehow connected to slave trade or human trafficking or sex trafficking. Because like every other person you talk to somehow knows something something about this trafficking business. It's so wild. So anyway, they get introduced to this other guy who is telling them that transportation to Sabratha is $100 per person, and if they don't have the money, we take you to the slave market, which I'm confused about. Like, if I come to you and say, please, can you take me to Sabratha? And you're like, it's $100, and I'm like, I don't have $100. Is the next thing you tell me not, please, there are so many people that are trying to get to this Sabratha. If you don't have the money, get out of my way so I can get somebody else in. How does it become you get to the slave market? I don't understand. Why is he taking them to the slave market? Oh my God, nothing makes sense. Anyway, he will take you to the slave market if you don't have the $100. So, they all start calling their nearest and dearest, trying to raise the money. Oloture calls her mom, and he finally gets to speak with her mom. Now that she needs money, her mouth can open. Useless girl. This other guy, Stan, tries to call his people, and I said Stan, Ben, that's his name here. He calls his people, but somehow the money doesn't come through, and then he starts getting the beating of his life. They wail on him. Alero, what's Alero even doing? What is even going on here? I don't care. Let me see. Alero says she will take care of that Italiano guy, but that she needs his help to take care of Chooks, who works for Tony, right? And that one says, whatever you want, I'll do it. And while that's going on, Chooks is here pitching to these other women why they need to go buy him to Europe. And this other one finally comes and announces that the money has cleared. Wow. This guy is just a brute. Now that I've got to give it to these people, they've been very creative about the mode of transport. I think the only thing we haven't seen is a train. They did try to stop a train to pick them up, but wisely enough, the train didn't stop. I didn't think the train could just catch brakes like that and stop for them, but you don't know, all kinds of things happening in this Oloture series. So they've gone by car, they've gone by pickup truck, they've gone by bike, they've gone by bus, and now they're going by tanker. I love it. I really do love it. And eventually they do finally go by boat, as we come to shortly. So they get here to Sabratha, Libya, which I guess is the gateway to Europe, I guess. I'm not quite sure, but this is where it ends really. And so the movie actually ends with them on this canoe. So I'm not sure where they are headed, but the series has ended. So now, here are a few things I'm going to say, but let me start with the fact that, number one, this series has positioned itself as a limited series. Unless I don't know what a limited series is, doesn't it conclude in one neat little package? Isn't that what these 3 episodes is supposed to be? However, as I had said in the recap, Mo Abudu did say that this was going to extend to and beyond the Mediterranean. So I'm not sure why they called it a limited series. The movie came out in 2019 or 2020, and this didn't come out until 2024. So we will be waiting until 2028. Are you holding your breath? I'm not. I'd really like to keep breathing until whether or not something else comes out accompanying this. Do I care? Oh God, I haven't cared about anything less in my life. Number 2, same commentary I've run throughout this series, which is that it just won't commit to actually pushing the story. If you're going to tell a story like this, you have to be brave. You have to dig deep. You have to be able to tell an incredibly difficult story with real stakes. This was very shallow. This was just afraid to really, it didn't do anything. Let's just leave it at that. And then there's also a number of threads left hanging here and there. So now Beauty has said that she's going to Europe. This just ended really crazy. The only story that is wrapped really is Oloture, like on her way. So I don't care, just go. And I've not asked the question of why at some point in all of this she hasn't turned around. Like, what is she doing? What is she going to do in Europe? But you know what, fuck all that. Where we are now in the story, I have no idea what she's doing. Her publication, her paper has let her go. They've told her they've killed this story. If I were her, I would turn around and go back to Lagos and make a big stink about how I'm working and you guys abandoned me there and whatever, would become the story. She has already seen a lot of things that she's overlooked. There's corruption at the border. There's corruption along different points that could have been big stories, but she wants to do this one, Amampor. So, but she's doing this solo. How do you do a story like this with no connections, with no extraction plan? You go to Europe, a big unknown. Where are you going? How are you going to continue? Why are you going? Never mind Stanze, that is probably football age, 15 years old, but he's probably like 50. We don't age shame here. Pedro is doing what Pedro is gonna do. I know why she's going. That was her goal. She was going to be going to Europe to do sex work. So I don't care. So then that's all of that. And then as for the pimps, they take out my guy, which I'm so hurt. That's the only thing that hurt me. Not because he died, but because of the clown that they had to kill him and how carelessly he was killed. That guy, his story doesn't. We followed him throughout this pimp. What does it all mean? Who the hell is he? Why did he matter in all of this? He didn't matter. Excuse me. He didn't matter in the movie. He was just there as a nuisance in Alera's way and harassing Blessing. That's Kemi Lala's character. But it came to nothing, right? Then we have Tony. I'm not really sure, because he's kind of ineffectual. All his girls died in the desert. That's where his story should have ended. And then we have Sir Philip, the politician. Now he's put a fatwa on what's her name's head when she should be presumed dead, because that whole bus, it was assumed that everyone died in that accident / shootout. And then we have Alera, and I don't know what the fuck with Alera. Just everything means nothing, and nothing means anything. This was a complete waste of my time. At least the movie was mildly entertaining, but this was just treading desert sand. Let me try to walk like the people in Dune. Yeah, that's what we're doing throughout this, okay? We're walking like people in Dune, in the desert there. You know what, never mind. I need to end this right now. It's gone on long enough. This video is going to be too long and give me too much editing work. Look, I have nothing more to say to you guys. I don't know if I said this already, but I probably said this in the first video. But production value is really good. I can see the incredible effort that went into this. Kenneth Gang is my friend. You guys are going to get tired of everybody being my friend. I'm sorry, I'm an industry plant, okay? So I talked to Kenneth before, this came out, and I was really excited. And now I don't know what I'm going to go back and what our conversation is going to look like, because of course he's going to see this video. Whew, I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say that the production, the production value, the cinematography, the directing, all of that is in the world building, just all of that is brilliant. So much effort, so much. The scope of this movie is so huge. The budget, I could see, like, all of this cost so much to shoot, okay? And it was a lot of labor. The problem is, why was so much labor expended for such a shallow, no account story? That's what I don't understand. Just so much effort put into a story that they would not go the distance with. I don't understand that, So I think it was such a waste of all that effort, such a waste of incredible skill on the production side. As for the writers, bye. Have you liked this video? Please do if you haven't. And are you subscribed to my channel? If you're not, please do. I guess that's it. Just to remind you that you have the right to an incredible viewing experience. So don't settle. Thank you.